Good afternoon. This is Eric Randall, and I'm doing this in preparation for a talk on invasive species. And one of the things I'd like to show today is actually, I wanted to get it on the ground before it actually pollinated and produced seed, because it appears that every single seed that is produced by these trees has to germinate. And this area near Gray Shores and down the west side of the lake, I know for sure, is really becoming populated by a lot of tree of heaven. Now, tree of heaven in itself is a very fast growing exotic invasive species. Doubly so dangerous is the fact that it is thought to be the host for the spotted lanternfly. Spotted lanternfly likes to lay its egg masses in the apex of the tree. This one doesn't have any, but they harvest the young nymph stages of the spotted lanternfly, use ailanthus or tree of heaven as a food supply. And so if we get rid of tree of heaven, or ailanthus, its scientific name, we also might help to eliminate the nesting sites and the feeding sites for another invasive, which has decimated parts of Pennsylvania and a lot of the fruit industry. So Patty and I and Deidre decided to harvest this invasive species. That's going to be a bit of a challenge to put this on an herbarium sheet, which is what I do with plants that I collect. But this one's going to end up on the burn pile. The tree is probably no more than 7 or 8 years old. It is an incredibly fast-growing, aggressive tree. It crowds out others. It is called allelotoxic. It poisons the soil from its root mass and prevents growth in its understory. But it's a very fragile, brittle tree, breaks off in storms, but it does colonize very nicely. If you can zoom in, this is actually it's the first time I've ever been able to collect the flowers, simply because you don't usually go to the field to harvest plants with a chainsaw. But every one of these flowers will produce a seed. The seeds are wind blown, they float, and they create some real problems in habitat diversity.